Buy-to-let property investing should be the forefront and foundation of every portfolio that any investor buys, in my opinion. The reason I say this is buy-to-lets have the lowest risk factor. They're one of literally the lowest risk property investments you can make. They are fully leveraged, meaning that you can have a letting agent look after them, and we have them for our own portfolio. And for a few of my own properties, I haven't had to actually attend them in years. Not to kind of ignore them, but to say that they're very low maintenance so long as you invest in the right location and therefore have the right tenant type. So just to introduce myself, my name is Ryan Eastley. I'm a property investor based in South Wales in the UK. I've been involved in property for about 7 years, but I've actually been full-time in property for the better part of about just under a decade, about 3 to 4 years now. So yeah, this video is going to outline buy-to-lets, why they're important, why you should not dismiss them, because there's a lot of people that have a focus upon just the interest rates, just the cash flow, these things that the media can really portray sometimes and shouldn't be necessarily the focal point of your investment. They're important, but not the main focal point. So this video is going to outline the tick list of what you actually need to actually factor in when investing in buy-to-lets, why they're so important for any portfolio, especially at the start, how you can recycle your funds to actually build a portfolio using buy-to-lets, and other things. So be sure to watch, subscribe, like, and comment yes if you want to start building your portfolio today. Let's get into it. Now I'm going to start this by targeting one of the main issues that I see either a lot of new investors make with property, or something that a lot of the media likes to highlight, and that is cash flow and interest rates. Now, these two factors should not be the main reason for either getting into investing in buy-to-lets or not investing into buy-to-lets. The reason I say this is interest rates are a short-term metric, and cash flow is not the main reason for buying a buy-to-let. You do not build a substantial wealth with a £200 net monthly income of a buy-to-let. That's one of the benefactors, one of the benefits of the investment, but it shouldn't be a focal point. Now, the reason I say this is the beauty of property is appreciation is really the powerhouse of it. And when you've got a multiple portfolio over time, let's say over 5 years, you've grown out a portfolio of 10 buy-to-lets. The beauty is you're not going to be rich off one investment. You're going to be wealthy off a portfolio that is appreciating over time in value and the compounding cash flow of the entire portfolio. And this is why you start with buy-to-lets, to have both of those benefits compound, and then you can move on to the higher risk strategies, and then you can grow from there, and then you can go on to the more cash flow, the bigger projects, the development, and all these kind of things. That's the way that I teach my clients to invest, because it's the safest way of investing, and you're still reaping the substantial benefits of the buy-to-let. So the next thing is location. Now, when you're investing in buy-to-lets, one of the absolute most important things in property in general, by the way, but buy-to-lets particularly, is location. Now, the reason this is so important is the location can dictate the type of tenant you're going to get. It can dictate the sort of cash flow you're going to get. Are you going to have an appreciating location or more of a cash flowing location? Are you going to have the right schools, transport links, and amenities locally so that tenants want to live there for a long time? Or you're going to have a high turnover of tenants. There's lots of things that can be dictated by the location of your buy-to-let investment. So it's something to really factor in. So now we've touched on interest rates and why they shouldn't be a focal point, because they're too short-term thinking. They're a short-term metric. Investing is a long-term investment. We've touched on location, which can be absolutely vital for your investment in terms of the correct tenant type, etc. Now, one of the main things that people approach us with our portfolio building service is literally how to recycle their funds. They have a starting pot. Of, let's say, £100,000, for example, and they want to recycle their funds and build a portfolio that way. Now, the way to do this is literally known as the BRR method, where you can buy a rundown property, you can renovate it to increase the value of said property, and then get a refinance at the new increased value of said property. Very, very simple. And it works so well with buy-to-lets because you can just rinse and repeat the whole process and build a substantial portfolio that way. Easy, right? Now, BR is great, but there's a few fundamental things that you need to do with it. Number one, you have to purchase below market value. So if the property is worth £80,000, you're going to be wanting to buy with some built-in equity. So you want to be able to purchase it from a distressed landlord for £60,000 to £70,000. If you're doing, and then what you want to actually do is, because you're typically buying a rundown property, you're then going to be spending money on the refurbishment. So let's say, for example, a 10k refurb. So to add a new kitchen, carpets and paint to increase the value of the property, hypothetically. So now the property is worth 90 or £100,000, and then you've bought it for £60,000, you spent 10k on it, so that's now £70,000 all in, legal stamp duty about £75,000, so then you've got about a 25k buffer. So all your money into the project is 75 grand, and then the actual market value now of said property is £100,000. So now you've got equity in the property, and then you can get a new mortgage at the you can get a new mortgage on the property at 75% loan to value, which means you can get 75% loan to value mortgage on it, pull most of your money back out, if not all of it back out, and then rinse, repeat the process. This is like an all money out deal sort of situation. We don't provide them, but we work with people to recycle their funds nonetheless. Hope that helps you. So yeah, basically the BR method is the go-to with property investing. We work with people to build a portfolio that way. And then obviously investors do the same sort of thing. So hopefully that clarifies that, and people use it with the buy-to-let method. So the next thing is leverage. Leverage is a very, very beneficial way of approaching property investing, and it's highly recommended. So one of the most go-to forms of leverage in property is literally using the banks. So obviously having them lend you, X amount of value for the property can really benefit you in the long run. Now, the reason I say this is every bank on every buy-to-let purchase will do a stress test for the purchase to make sure they're protected, but you're also maximizing their funds to purchase your property. So if you've got, for example, a market where it's about a 5% interest rate, then they're going to stress test at 7-8%, for example, to protect themselves, to make sure the rental income annually is going to cover what they actually need, what's actually going to come in, to make sure you can actually make your repayments, etc. So that protects them, but also allows you to get kind of recycle your funds in the long run, if that makes sense. Not too sure how well explain that, but hope that makes sense. So stress tests are really important for lenders, but also using leverage, such as the banks, is hugely important. Leverage goes from a lot of different areas though. So a lot of our clients are leveraging us for our portfolio building. You can leverage a letting agent for your rental side to it. You're leveraging the banks for the lending side to it. There's lots of different leverage sides to property, and we recommend using all of them, to be honest with you. Leverage is one of it saves you time, hassle. It makes sure your money's working harder for you, but you're not stressing and using your time doing things. Hope this all makes sense. So yeah, leverage, really something to use and maximize its potential with. And last but not least is one of my favorite bits of the whole buy-to-let model, is the fact that it's the lowest risk element, lowest risk investment of property, in my opinion. So the reason I say that, and the reason I really emphasize it, is when you're building a property portfolio, literally, if you want to buy 30 properties or build a portfolio of 30 properties, the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to start off with the lowest risk ones, the simple ones, the buy-to-lets, doing small refurbs, recycling your funds that way, having a bit of a foundational pot there of like 5, 6, 7 properties of buy-to-lets. You understand the process, you understand how the whole system works in terms of recycling your funds, etc. And you've got some low risk cash flowing assets sat there, with equity forever growing with them. Not always going up, but over time increasing in value. And you can literally grow the equity from the buy-to-let portfolio. Let's say you've got 20k of equity per property and you've got 5 of them. You've got 100k of equity there that you could pull out from the whole portfolio and then go into bigger projects, more higher risk ones where you could make a whole lot more money, or you could, if it goes wrong, you could lose a hell of a lot more, because obviously the risk element's a lot higher. So I always recommend with our clients, with our bespoke clients, if they're looking to build a portfolio, start with the buy-to-let, start with simple, build the confidence, build the confidence in the process. And then once you've got your lower risk investments, the buy-to-lets, etc., then you can build from there. So yeah, that's what I always recommend, because it's just protecting yourself really. And it's also, the more that you understand what you're investing into, we always recommend make sure you understand what you're investing into before cracking on with it. But at least until you're actually doing it, you don't really understand the process. So it's always good to kind of crack on with it, make the mistakes, understand the process, work with a company like ourselves who literally does this day in, day out, who builds portfolios and holds investors' hands, who are fairly new to property and build in that way. And go from there. That's what we recommend. So if you want to work with us, comment yes below as well, and we'll reach out to you. And our socials will be in the comments below as well, by the way. But hope that helps. Really, that's what I recommend with portfolio building. Bit of a ramble. Subscribe to it if you want to learn more. Hope something in this video helped you. And see you next week.